Hey, Carlsbad. Thanks for joining us on our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast. For the month of July, we're doing something a little bit different. We're actually taking a retroactive look on our top 5 episodes that we've released over these first 2 years of podcasting. Hard to believe it's been 2 years already, but these episodes have been our top producers, so we thought we'd re-release them and share them with you, our audience. And we will be back in August with brand new content, so we hope you enjoy.
Carlsbad, People, Purpose, and Impact, an essential podcast for those who live, work, visit, and play in Carlsbad.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Brett Schanzenbach. I am the president and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and I'm your host today. And I'm excited to have with me Gwyn Grimes. Gwyn is the executive director at Mission San Luis Rey. Good afternoon, Gwyn. Thanks for joining me.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. It's great to have you. So tell us a little bit about how long you've been part of the mission, how long you've been working there, what got you there and got you started, and all that stuff.
I've been there for 12 years. So I originally started at the mission as the finance director, so that's my background. About 4 years ago, I became the executive director. So my path to the mission, I was fortunate enough to stay at home with my kids for quite a few years after working, and did a lot of nonprofit work during that time. And when my daughter was going to go off to college, I'm like, maybe I should go help fund college. So decided to come back to work and interviewed at a few positions. And I went, you know what? I really want to stay in the nonprofit area.
Yeah. And
I had a few interviews and had the interview at the mission. I was like, this is it. Like this, this feels right. It just everything came into place. So I've just been so blessed since then to be there.
That's awesome. Yeah. Very cool. And what were some of the things you did before you took a break and had kids? What are some places you worked? And
for many, many years, worked in medical manufacturing, actually right down the street from here on Faraday.
Oh, yeah.
So worked there for many years. And then, like as I said, I was fortunate enough to be home and be with my kids. And so did, PTA things and softball and worked a little bit at an organization that helps feed homeless kids in high schools. So, yes.
So you were the household CEO, I get it.
I was still the household CEO.
That's great. So the mission is hitting quite a milestone in 2023.
Yes.
225 years.
Yes.
That is amazing. Is there I know, so we have centennial, bicentennial, blah, blah, blah. Is there a name for 225?
I've been wondering that. Also, I'm like, when you have wedding anniversaries, like your 50th is gold, like what's the thing for a 225th? I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, but, that might not be common enough to have a name,
exactly,
right? That's so great. So
yes.
You were founded in 1798.
Yes.
1798 and this was interesting when I was researching it because we all just kind of have a knee-jerk to assume that the missions were all founded by Junipero Serra, but you were founded by Father Fairman Francisco.
Correct. Father Serra founded the first 9 missions.
Okay.
And so Father Fermin Lasuen founded our mission. It was there for a very short time period. And then Father Perry became the administrator. And he was there for many years. He was there for about 25 years.
Okay.
And so he's really, in our eyes, the father of our mission, if you will. So
yeah. And there's just so much history around Father Junipero Serra doing the missions. I didn't realize that you had a
I know most people don't.
Yeah. But you also have on your website a beautiful history kind of laid out of the area, and it has the Lisueño Indians, the Spanish missionaries, the Mexican secularization, all the way up to American military. Take us through a little bit of the history of the mission.
Yes. So the land where the mission is the native land of the Lisueño people, and so they were there many, 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 many years before any of the Spanish came to California, and so they had villages in the very spot where the mission was. So they are the native people of that land. And so then in the mid 1700s, Spain wanted to found land in California, what was now California, before the Russians came. And
there was a race on.
Exactly. And so they sent a Franciscan friar, Junipero, and so he started founding missions. So the mission in San Diego was the first mission. And then after they founded, so then they went up all the way up to Monterey. And then they decided, well, we should probably have every mission like a 2 days walk from each other. So then they kind of backfilled. So we're the 18th of the 21 California missions. So by the time they had built 17 missions, they had a lot of, they figured out a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good for you guys.
So Mission San Luis Rey is called the King of the Missions because
Yes.
it is the largest of the California missions and still is. In the heyday of the mission, there were almost 1 million acres. That was the mission.
I saw that on your website.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So from Oceanside all the way south to Encinitas, out to Palomar Mountain, and up through Camp Pendleton.
Wow.
So it was the biggest. The mission church was the biggest building in California at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a lot of history. Yeah.
And then again, coming all the way to at some point the American military occupied it. Or you based there? Or?
Yeah. So after secularization, really all of the California missions were abandoned, and some for very long periods of time. And so as President Lincoln gave the missions back to the Catholic Church of California at the time, the military came in to protect them until then they could, go back in. So Father O'Keefe then came back to our mission to rebuild with friars from Zacatecas in Mexico who were chased out of Zacatecas because of the Catholicism.
Yes.
And so they came to rebuild the mission after it had been abandoned for many years. So,
well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to take a brief pause. We're talking to Gwyn Grimes, the Executive Director at Mission San Luis Rey. And when we come back, we're going to talk about all the amazing things that go on at the mission today. We've been sharing about this rich history, but we're going to talk about today and how you can enjoy the mission. So we'll be right back. Stay with us. So, Gwyn, we've been talking about amazing history that the Mission San Luis Rey has, but there's a lot. I've had the opportunity to take my family through and do some wonderful tours there. And as I told you before we went on air, 2 of my kids went to school there back in the day. Tell some people about some of the great things you have, like the museum and the tours and everything.
Great. Yes, so we have about 50,000 people that come to the mission every year. We are still a very active mission. And so we have about 10,000 fourth graders who come every year as part of the fourth grade curriculum and learn about missions.
That's a lot of fourth graders.
That's a lot of fourth graders. So every day from about October through April, we have fourth graders.
Wow.
And it is fantastic. Yes, so we have a beautiful museum, and so it really takes people through the history of the mission and again, up until today. We have a retreat center as well, and so we have about 6,000 people that come to our retreat center. And so we have 52 rooms and meeting space for groups. And so we have a lot of Catholic high schools that come there as well, stay in our retreat center. And then we actually have an active cemetery, believe it or not. And so there's a historic piece of the cemetery, but it is still an open cemetery. So we have a lot of families that come and bury their loved ones there, but also love it because there is a connection to the mission. And it's an active and beautiful place. And so it's not a quiet cemetery where there's no life. There is activity, and so we're very busy. In fact, in 2 weeks we have our beautiful Christmas concert in our historic church.
Yeah.
We have daily masses in the church every day. We have weddings and funerals, and so we're very busy. And we host our own retreats that are really typically geared around our Franciscan and Catholic faith. This coming weekend, we have a retreat on grief and recovery, and that's a lovely retreat for folks who are struggling with grief and loss. We are hopping.
Yeah, to say the least. Your cemetery is gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you.
It is so beautiful, and that, of course, that time of life when somebody has passed can be challenging and a lot of grief and all that, but like you said, it's such a beautiful, peaceful place that you're going to be buried somewhere. That's where I'd like to be buried. Yeah,
and we do.
So
we get so many people who say there's just something special about coming here. I have a volunteer who I love a quote that he gave us once and said, people come here for many reasons, for fourth grade tours and for many reasons, but they all leave having been touched, by being here. And so
that's wonderful.
I think about that a lot and hear that a lot.
So your museum, I love the tours. Now, I think you have both self-guided and guided tours, and I've done it both ways.
Yeah.
So share a little bit about the tours, because it's a pretty robust museum with the displays, and then of course you have some video screens at a couple different places where you can stop and get some history that way. So share about that.
Yeah. So it is. We have guided tours, and we have behind the scenes tours. And of course, fourth grade tours. We have a really great group of docents who do tours on the weekends, behind the scenes tours, we call them. And then we have a self-guided tour, and we do. And throughout the museum, we have there's a beautiful video that we have about the Luiseño powwow that's held there every year, and then a nice video that takes you again through the history of the museum. And like all good museums, then you come out through the gift shop.
Of course, absolutely. I have the gift shop on my list to talk about because I love that gift shop.
It is lovely.
Hours that the tours are available and days.
Mm-hmm. So tours are available on Saturdays and Sundays, 11 o'clock on Saturday and 1 o'clock on Sunday. And then for big groups, we can work with big groups if groups want to come in with, 10, 15 people and figure out a time when it fits for them. And we, of course, occasionally have big tour groups that come through. And then our museum is open from 10 to 4:30. And so, again, self-guided tour through there. We have a nice audio tour that we recently added as well.
Yes, I've done that one.
Yeah, and then we recently, about 6 months ago, added a new room onto our museum that takes people through the history of the Franciscans.
Oh, nice.
As our mission has been a Franciscan mission from 1798 until now. So,
wonderful, wonderful. I have one of those questions that just people want to know. Are there any real bells left in the bell tower?
There are.
Yeah.
So the bells you hear every day are not the bells. There are still 3 bells that are in the bell tower, and so we ring them on special occasions.
Okay.
So every year we celebrate what we call the Feast Day of San Luis Rey, who is our patron saint of our mission, and so we always ring the bells that day. We will ring the bells on our 225th anniversary next year. But yes, so there are 3 bells in the bell tower, and we also do. We have a online auction every year, and so as part of our auction, we auction off a tour of the bell tower.
Oh, that would be fascinating!
It's beautiful. The amazing thing is, I worked there for 11 years before I went in the bell tower. Like, how have I never been up here?
Oh, that's
so it's
great.
as you can imagine, a beautiful view of the valley. So yeah, it's really lovely.
And you mentioned this already, but you have a very nice gift shop, and that is open to the public, of course.
We do.
Whether you have time to go on a tour or go in the museum or not, you can just come to the gift shop and shop there.
Yes. We do. We have a lovely gift shop, and so we have the first room of our gift shop is, if you will, souvenir items, and but we also have a lot of items in there from local artisans that we like to support, and fair trade vendors.
Nice.
And then we have a second room that is our religious room, and that is certainly the majority of the things that we sell in there. We have a lot of people who come back. And then we also just opened a coffee shop. We actually opened it right before the pandemic, and then, of course, closed it. So it's reopened, and it's lovely because it has a lovely outdoor patio that is right by our rose garden.
Yes.
And so it's a spectacular view. You can see our rose garden and the famous pepper tree.
Yes, the pepper tree.
The famous pepper tree. And so it's a really lovely little coffee shop, and we have just a couple of really lovely women that work in there, and so it's becoming a little more popular. We have regulars, and so
nice. I did not know about the coffee shop.
Right.
So we should probably mention this for the podcasts go far. Like, we have no idea where these listeners might come from. So there's possibly somebody out there who doesn't know that you have the first pepper tree in California.
The oldest pepper tree in California.
Yeah, the oldest pepper tree in California. Still alive.
Still alive. Planted in 1830.
Wow.
Yes.
1830. Now, it does have some help supporting its big branches, so it doesn't just fall.
It does. So as pepper trees grow, they become hollow. So the base of the trunk of the pepper tree is probably 6 feet wide and hollow. And so, as you can imagine, as the branches grow, they become hollow too. And so we have to have metal posts to support them so that they don't collapse. So.
Yeah. Yes, it's quite a support structure.
It is.
So you mentioned that you guys have retreats. You also have meeting rooms that I believe people can book and use.
We do, and so we do limit it to nonprofit organizations. So since we are a nonprofit, we're limited by that. But we have many nonprofit groups. Of course, a lot of religious groups, but school organizations and police organizations, and a lot of recovery groups. So really, all different types of groups that meet there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So with next year being your 225th, I would imagine there might be some special things planned. What kind of things can you tell us about?
So we have some big things and we have some not so big things. But so what we really wanted to do was celebrate the history of the mission throughout the year. And so we'll start in January and February with a lecture by the captain of the Luiseño tribe, Mel Vernon.
Oh, wow.
And he will talk about the history of the Luiseño people. And then in February, we will have a flute concert by a few folks of the Luiseño tribe. And they're such beautiful. They just had a Spirit of the Valley festival in Oceanside last weekend, and they played that there. And I've heard them multiple times. And it's just so beautiful. And so we'll have some lectures throughout the year. We always have a Christmas concert, as I mentioned, in December, and we'll have a couple other concerts throughout the year. The Mission Church acoustics are just unbelievable. Mm-hmm. You've probably seen the dome, which is called the cupola.
Yes,
and the acoustics underneath there are just spectacular. So always popular to have concerts in the Mission Church. And then we have two very big events that are events that had been held at the Mission for many years, and for a multitude of reasons we do not do anymore. And so one of them is called Fiesta. Mm-hmm. And so the actual anniversary date of the mission is June 13th. Right. So we'll have a special mass that evening, but then the weekend after that, the weekend of June 17th and 18th, we'll have a big fiesta. And so Wonderful. It'll be music and carnival rides and games and lots of food and some local vendors selling their retail items. And then the second event is in August. We've had for many, many years a gala called the Heritage Ball. Mm-hmm. Again, another event that people love and say, why don't you hold this anymore? and so we're bringing that back again as well. And so those are kind of our two big events that we'll have. But like I said, really things throughout the year. And so, all of the events will be on our website. And so we're very excited. We're, a little stressed about all the things, all the work that goes into it. But we're excited to share it with our community.
Well, I can relate. Next year will be the Carlsbad Chamber's centennial,
Lovely.
Our 100th. And so similar, like we have some smaller activities and a couple of bigger activities. And so I feel the same burn that you're feeling about pulling it all off. But that is wonderful. 225 years. That's so great. And there is actually an active parish, of course, that's still part of it.
Yes.
And meets there regularly for all things. Anything else? Did we miss anything?
I'm exhausted. So as I said, the mission used to be almost 1 million acres, now 57 acres. And so we've leased the southwest corner of the mission property to a developer, and we're building a senior living community.
I saw that on your website.
Yeah.
So that is in development at the moment, and it hasn't been built yet.
It's due to be finished in about 10 months. So almost looks finished from the outside. But this is a project that was 30 years years ago. The friar who was in charge at the time thought this would be a nice thing to do in our community, and so we're excited that's finally coming to fruition. And right next to that is this beautiful area of the mission called the Lavanderia, and so it's in Spanish it means laundry, and so it's an amazing outdoor area of the mission that we've been trying to restore a little bit, and so in partnership with the developer of the hacienda is the senior living community, the name of it. And so they're going to help us do some restoration of that. And so we're excited that it will all kind of come together at the same time during our 225th anniversary year. So
that's wonderful.
So we have a lot of exciting things coming up. So
a lot of exciting things. And I know, from the past that keeping the mission in top shape, since it is 225 years old, is an ongoing challenge. And how is it right now? Are you raising money for some part or piece?
We are always raising money for something. As I said, we were raising money for the laundry area. As part of that, there's a kiln. And so as you've if you've seen the mission, you see the arches, right? And
Yes.
so the arches cannot be built with adobe, which is what the mission was built of. It's not strong enough. And so the arches have to be made of brick. And so there's a kiln that is part of that. And so we just had to do some restoration of that because the walls were starting to collapse. And then one of the very original arches of the mission one of the very last that didn't either become in crumbles because of age or because people took bricks from them to build their houses during the abandonment period. That had to be restored. That was in very, very serious shape, and so that was just recently restored. And we have beautiful artwork in the church and in the museum that is always in constant need of restoration and statues. And so we're really fortunate that we have people who love and care about the mission and the art and our archives, and so help us support that. So.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, but as you said, it's a constant need.
Oh, man. Where can people learn more? How can they follow and keep up with all these great activities?
So we have, of course, our website, sanluisrey.org, and then you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram as well.
All right, sanluisrey.org.
Yes.
Follow, and so on Facebook, it would be San Luis Rey?
On Facebook is Mission San Luis Rey, and then on Instagram is Mission SLR, San Luis Rey.
Mission SLR. Okay, got it. I'm going to stop because I'm going to mess it up if I say it too many times.
Check it out today. Our fantastic gift shop manager, who's quite the character, is recording an Instagram video today about our things for Christmas in our gift shops.
All right, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share. It's an exciting time. We can help get the word out about your 225th right as the new year kicks in.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having us, and we hope to see everybody next year.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the follow button on wherever you get your audio, and please tell a friend. We would love to hear your feedback, which you can share at carlsbadpodcast.com. You can leave us a review, ask a question, or leave an audio comment, which we can play on the show in the future. And that's all we have for today. Can't wait to see you next time on Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. And remember, share some kindness today. It's free, creates goodwill, and makes you feel great.